What's good, yo? Welcome back to a brand new reaction. This time we are doing Angry Joe's thoughts on the DCU Slate announcement. I am extremely late with this one, but you guys know that when I reacted to the video originally when James Gunn first dropped it, I said, "Oh, I'll watch Angry Joe's video." I wasn't too sure about a reaction. Then I watched like a couple minutes. I was like, "Ah, fuck, let's do a reaction." And then because of school and some other stuff, I ended up the video kept getting delayed, and a little bit of just straight up forgetting. But yeah, we're here. I'm finally reacting to the video. Let's just jump right in, boys. See what we got. So yeah, let's see what we got. What you got for me, Joe? This should be interesting. What he thinks about this.
The day has finally come.
Yeah.
James Gunn, he literally waits till the last moment on the last day of the last month to announce his new DCU plans. Now, last we spoke, I was very, very upset over how James Gunn decided to throw away a wonderful opportunity with Henry Cavill to continue the
Yep.
Superman line with the Man of Steel, Black Adam, Aquaman, all of these things that are currently popular and making billions of dollars. And especially with Wonder Woman and Aquaman, but it does seem as if he is now throwing all of that out in order to restart things. And we'll go through his statement a little at a time. He mentions the 4 projects that are left and remaining, these leftover projects. He kind of skims through them real quick because honestly, I don't think they factor into his DCU. There might be one that does, maybe two. But really, it's all about 11 new announcements. So you have 11 TV or film or animation things. I didn't expect that many. And honestly, I'll tell you up front, um, I'm excited.
Ooh,
I'm
Joe's
excited
excited.
for James Gunn's DCU vision. Now, do I think that he could have done this while retaining the best actors from the previous DCEU? Yes, and I think that's an
Yeah, I think he
incredible
could have.
mistake, and I think it's an incredible
He
mistake
should have
that we're
kept
not
Henry.
getting
That's
some
all.
of the
I'll
sequels to
stand. I
those
stand by
films,
that shit,
and then
man.
integrating those faces for these characters that we know and love into his new DCU. But that is gone. That is over with. That battle has already been lost. This is what James Gunn is doing, and we need to assess whether this is going to be good for DC, bad for DC, and.
Joe's rocking the old Superman shirt he used to wear in his old movie reviews. If you guys are like OG subscribers, you guys know around when this dude used to do movie reviews by himself before he kind of like dropped off them before picking them back up in recent years. He would wear this Superman shirt in all of those movie reviews he did back in like 2010, 2011, 2012, I think, or upward, maybe in 2013. Definitely, he did like one for Man of Steel and everything. But yeah, if you guys are OG subs, you guys know Joe used to rock this Superman shirt back in the day.
Whether it's going to work out for him. So, without further ado, I think it's best to watch his announcements together, me and you. I've already seen it once, but kind of talk about his announcements as we go through it, and for me to give you my live reaction to his announcements. It's a 6 minute video, so let's watch it
Six
together.
minute long video. Joe somehow managed to squeeze into an hour.
Hey everybody, I'm James Gunn. I'm the co-CEO of DC Studios.
I was doing this
So
off
as
Twitter.
many of you know,
So this is obviously big. He's letting everybody know that he is the authority, okay? Him and Peter have full authority, full control. You're speaking with the president. Warner Brothers finally has their own Kevin Feige. So as a greater whole, I've always wanted them, DC, to have their own Kevin Feige. And if I were to pick somebody at a glance who I know is passionate about comic books, who I know understands characters, who I think has a great sense for storytelling and comedy as well, I would say James Gunn. James Gunn seems
It's
like
like
the
on Zack
person
Snyder or something.
who
Just
would be
goes
the
off
right
rhythm.
fit. Now, did he already make some decisions that I don't agree with? Yes. And I hate
Henry.
some of those decisions, and I think they're the wrong decisions. But if I were to pick somebody, I actually like the James Gunn pick. So that's up front.
know,
Yeah.
DC has been disconnected in film and television for a long time. And it's one of
So that's really important. Film and television have been disconnected in DC. You have these cheap CW shows, some of them terrible, some of them good. And
Superman Lois, I
and
heard,
then
was
you
really good.
never get these actors to go to the big screen. I've always seen fans of these TV shows wish that their Arrow would show up or their Flash would show up on the big screen. And it seems as if James Gunn is going to finally make that a reality. If the actor plays Superman or Green Arrow or Flash in a TV series, they will also be playing them in a movie. Is this good? I think that this change is good, and we can talk about is interesting and exciting, and we can talk about the pros and cons of that. Obviously, if you pick the wrong actor, if a project fails in film or TV, you have an incredibly high fuck up factor where it's then, well, shit, now the TV show sucks, nobody's going to watch the film, or the film sucks, are people going to watch the TV? So I'm sure they thought about this, and then unable to recast actors. What if that actor is sucks in the role? And so it's an incredible risk, and that means that all the casting decisions and all the projects need to be successful out of the gate in order to continue that momentum through the different mediums. Now, there's a small hope that it could not work in TV and then work on film, and then that's how the audience, and then you can go back into the TV or you could go back into the film after one of these works. So some of you
Why
might
is there
argue that
somebody with Jason's mask? The
circumstances
fuck?
at bat here for each of these properties. So for me, I think that side is incredible. The part that, and I think that that's a good choice, and I'm excited for it, and I'm ready for that era of DC, right? We've had the era of DC where they're disconnected and they're different from TV to movies. I would like the era where they're the same from TV from movies, and I'm up for that. However, one aspect that I am worried about is animation, okay?
And
DC
video games, because we
animation
also mentioned
is
that.
fucking king. It has been for decades. It's even better than Marvel. If Marvel is, there's no doubt that Marvel is kicking ass in movies. Okay, there's no doubt in my mind that Marvel kicks DC's ass in movies. Obviously there are some standouts in DC, but as far as a connected universe, as far as feeling about the comics, a transition from one to one, this is where Marvel excels in live action and in film. However, DC excels in its DC animation department.
Yep.
Those stories are amazing. There are so many recommendations that I can make to you to buy some DVDs for both Wonder Woman, Superman, Justice League Unlimited, Brave and the Bold, just tons and tons of animation. And I am very worried that this initiative of, okay, well, if they're be cast here, in an animated movie, they also need to be the person that is going to be in the film. And you'll see that in his announcement in one of his new TV shows later on. That has me worried because I don't feel like you should force that connection between animation and the films, because that is going to limit the creativity that you could do in animation. Now, what I'm hoping to garner from this is that it's only limited animations. It's only certain animations, and we can still have, and I'm hoping we can still have stuff like Superman versus the Elite, and not have to have the Elite be that particular storyline, cast everybody who may or may not be good voice actors, but good actors, and then have to have them carry over onto the screen. We need to see some of these other stories. And I think he's already built that in, where he's going to say that all new DC animations are going to be Elseworld animations if they're telling different stories that aren't connected to his DCU. That's the only decision that I'm worried on, and I have a problem.
What is Joe holding in his hand?
Interesting and good
What is he
for,
holding?
TV and film. Now it's gonna make me wonder what the fuck is gonna happen to the CW, right? Are they no longer going to have access to the WB characters? I mean, that's a huge market of theirs that they make money off of, where they have all these like cheap looking TV shows, and sometimes they get hits and sometimes they don't. Well, now they're required to, factor into James Gunn's DCU, and he might want control to where now they only go on HBO and they're only HBO Max, and the era of CW is over. So that has huge implications that we could talk about quite a bit. So let's continue.
Our jobs, mine and Peter's, is to come in and make sure the DCU is connected in film, television, gaming, and animation.
So right there, film, television, gaming, and animation. Now, in this announcement, he never mentions any video games. I don't know why that is. It's probably because video games take a lot longer to put together than some of these productions. But that is both exciting and worrisome for me, right? Because it's exciting because I might finally get a Superman game, and it is thanks to James Gunn, right? Because Superman and DC executives are like, James Gunn, these are the main things that we want you to do. We need Superman up front. We need Wonder Woman up front. We need Batman up front. That must mean that we are going to get video games of these different properties. Now, this gives me a hint and a whiff of, oh no, movie licensed games are returning in the worst way. This could be the easiest part of his DCU fucking up. Is in the video game department. However, if he finds talented studios, if they put enough budget into these games and they're AAA games, then it could be a fucking dream come true, guys. All these games based on, Superman, Batman, some of his more eccentric things that he's talking about here, maybe some of the lanterns. We could get a renaissance and a new era in, video games for DC. So that could go either way, but I just want to mention it is exciting that he included games there and to be on the lookout. Now, I don't think any of these games are coming anytime soon. I think that the earliest game probably that is within the James Gunn DCU is probably going to be a piece of shit mobile game that sucks balls, a movie tie-in shit like that. And we won't start to see some of the better stuff until 2027. If he's talking
or
maybe
2030
2025 as the beginning of his DCU, we're probably not going to see the games until the 2026 or 2027 is my guess. So I'm looking forward to that age. Now, again, he talks about this initiative. So, again, he talks about this initiative to tie it all together. So, quite clearly, that was inspired by MCU and how everything is tied together in the MCU. The DC executives and WB executives clearly want that for their franchise. Now, whether that is a good thing or a bad thing, I don't know. It could be that DC can have their cake and eat it too because of what he mentions later on. Having an Elseworlds brand and then having his DCU. Everything can fit into those two buckets. Anything that isn't James Gunn's DCU can still exist so as long as it's branded with Elseworlds. And honestly, frankly, I always thought that Superman, Man of Steel, Henry Cavill was an Elseworlds story. I've always thought that, Batman killing everybody, Ben Affleck, was an Elseworlds story. And I've always wanted them to categorize these kinds of things as Elseworlds, because then it opens it up and it makes it so much potential for creativity and to tell wild stories, knowing that you have the protection under that Elseworlds brand, that it's like, don't worry, stop complaining that Superman is this way or stop complaining that this is that way. It is a new take on the character as clearly Elseworlds, not DCU. So that is an exciting.
I'm sure that's from the CW.
The characters are consistent, played by the same actors, and it works within one story. And if something is outside of that, like Matt Reeves' Batman or Todd Phillips' Joker or Teen Titans Go, that it is clearly labeled as DC Elseworlds.
He mentions Teen Titans Go randomly, like... It's amazing how long that series has stuck around for, bruh. And yeah, they just refuse to give us the old show, man, which is what we want, but whatever.
Outside of...
I heard it's actually gotten pretty good. I actually saw a couple of the more recent episodes. I'm like, oh shit, the show actually has brains for once. It actually has, smart.
It's a very popular cartoon. It have some films. I really like it. It's just nice that it got a mention there as one of the major things that are left.
Then, like I said, it has.
All right, so now he's going to go into the current.
I remember this one episode I did see was when they were like kind of like making fun of the Oscars, and I was like, this is actually kind of smart.
Shazam: Fury of the Gods. Shazam has always been
like
off
the
kind
staying
in his
usual
own part
brain
of the
dead comedy you should
DCU.
go with.
So two things there. He's very lucky. Like he's lucky that these projects are coming out. I don't buy that for a second. He had nothing to do with any of them, and he may or may not integrate them into his universe. But I don't know. So maybe that could be reference to Flash and potentially Blue Beetle. But here he says that Shazam has always been its own thing. So right away I can already tell this is an Elseworld story, and it's not going to factor into his DCU. Now, whether he uses Zachary Levi because Zachary Levi is his friend, that is yet to be seen.
So he connects very well. That moves directly into The Flash, a fantastic movie that I really love that resets the entire DC universe. Then to move into
All right, so Flash is quite clearly a multiverse thing, and he's going to use the Flash in order to kill essentially all of our DCEU stuff. This was what we thought would happen, and the probably easiest way to do this is to just say that those characters do exist, but they exist in a different universe. And we are now going to sort of peer in and have a camera on a new universe, and it's the James Gunn universe. And whether it can borrow characters from the other universe, the older universe, it looks like that's happening. James Gunn is cherry picking the ones that he wants to work with, which is incredibly unfair, but his right to do so because he is the motherfucking president. And we can
It's weird
complain
he's like
about
okay
it,
with
and
everybody
feel sad
but
about
Henry.
it, but that is the reality.
What is your beef with Henry
He's
Cavill?
using the Flash in order to do it. It is going to blow my mind if motherfucking Henry Cavill is kicked to the curb while Ezra Miller is put front and center, and it really fucking bothers me that that those types of people are put front and center, and it's just, man, this Flash film must be the best fucking film. Even James Gunn is like, I really love this film, and people are calling it the best superhero film in a long time. That has a lot to fucking live up to. This thing must be fucking liquid gold with the studio.
I don't know if I buy all that. By the way, for me, honestly, I don't know if I buy all that about it's just like, oh, Flash is one of the biggest films I've ever seen. And I'm like, I feel like he's just hyping it up just to make people go watch it, so that they actually make their money back on it because of how controversial it's been, and of course it being delayed to shit constantly and everything. I feel like it's more from that rather than he. Now maybe I'm wrong, and it's legitimately one of the greatest comic book movies ever made. I could be wrong, and it ends up knocking my socks off. We'll have to wait and see when it comes out, but I'm not necessarily buying all that stuff James Gunn is doing, hyping up the movie, man. I don't buy all that. We'll have to wait and see, though. I could be wrong, and I watch it, and I'm like, oh my god, this film's a fucking masterpiece. 10 out of 10, one of the greatest films ever made. We'll have to wait and see on that, but yeah, I don't know if I buy all that stuff, buy up all that smoke that James Gunn is spewing. I think he's just blowing smoke up all our asses, but we'll wait and see.
Just refusing to change things and shelve it or something. So they're banking on the Flash resetting everything. So the Flash is a great excuse to show multiple universes inside and to replace our universe. I've heard rumors of this Supergirl being replaced. In this, a Man of Steel looking female Superman or Supergirl, rather than Henry Cavill being in this particular universe where Supergirl shows up and Henry Cavill doesn't. I hope that doesn't actually come to the front, but I don't think it will because of his announcements next. Fuck.
Joe, you good, bro?
Blue Beetle, a fantastic film, and to move into Blue Beetle, a fantastic film about a kid who's a marvelous part of the DCU, and then into Aquaman 2, which leads directly.
So it's all cut up kind of weird, It's like he's just doing this at home and he kind of edits it himself. So from that, it is starring a marvelous kid who does factor into the DCU. So it sounds like, in actuality, Blue Beetle is going to be our first DCU film that ties into there, that uses the actor. James tries to make it seem like the Superman project is the first DCU, but I mean, by his own words, it seems like Blue Beetle
I think it might be
at the
more of
very
like
least he's
this
going
is
to use
point
the
five of the
actor
DCU.
and
Well,
then just throw
Superman,
away the world that they
Superman
created
Legacy
there
or whatever it was
and
called is like the first. This is
retroactively
like
say
now we're
that
going
Blue
all
Beetle
in,
happens before the Flash, maybe.
Of the DCU,
I'll have to wait
and
and see
then
on that.
into Aquaman 2, which leads directly to who's a marvelous part of the DCU, and about a kid who's a marvelous part of the DCU, and then into Aquaman 2, which leads directly into our next few projects, which I'm
So, and then he kind of just he just throws Aquaman, and then there's Aquaman 2. Anyway, our next project, that's basically how that got worded there. But we have seen Jason Momoa very, very excited after his meeting with James Gunn. So whether that's Aquaman 3, whether that's Jason Momoa getting to continue to be Aquaman in a new Aquaman in the DCU, or whether that character is over with and the multiverse allows him to play a new character, Lobo.
Everyone
that
wants him to play
remains to be
Lobo, I've
seen.
noticed.
Now, I think now, what are my preferences, my thoughts? I think Aquaman is awesome, and those films have been great, and they make a ton of money. They make billions of dollars, and the women go out and see for Jason Momoa as well. So there's
Yeah,
multiple butts in the seat. Personally, I want to see Lobo. I want to see Jason as Lobo, but I don't want to sacrifice Aquaman in order to get it. But
I mean, what's
know
stopping him from
it's
just
going to have to
playing
be
me?
one or the other. It's going to be so awkward if Jason is playing both characters. It just doesn't make sense. If you have the Justice League rolling around and they have to fight Lobo, or Lobo shows up and it just doesn't. It's weird.
I think they could
So
make
I
it work.
think
I wouldn't really find
my
it. I wouldn't
bet
really bat an
is
eye at
that
that. But I'm
Jason is
the
cast as
hardcore.
Lobo, and that Aquaman will be recast, which is an incredible loss because I think that his Aquaman was such a unique Aquaman, an island's Aquaman. I like that it reflected the islander people rather than, just some blonde, generic, just not very interesting person. Arthur, there's been a lot of iterations of the character, but I think Aquaman was one that really hit on that. So it's going to be sad to see Aquaman go, but I think that's probably what's going to end up happening. So now, at this point, we actually go into his 11 new projects over the next 8 to 10 years. We'll just say 10 years. Not sure why he says 8. We'll just go 10. So 10 years. What has he got for us?
I'm going to tell you about now. So, Peter and I, along with a group of very talented writers, have started to map out an 8 to 10 year plan of what DC Studios will be in film, television, and gaming. This first chapter is called Gods and Monsters. Now, what I'm about to tell you, is a part of the first chapter.
So what's interesting here is that he has multiple parts mapped out, very much like, Zack Snyder wanted to do multiple parts to the Justice League. He's doing multiple parts to the entire universe, which mimics, Marvel's phases. So he's going to call them chapters. Just think that DC has phases, or DC has chapters and Marvel has phases. So the first chapter for DC is Gods and Monsters.
It's not the entire first chapter. The first project is Creature Commandos. Creature Commandos is an animated series. I've written all the episodes. Something we're going to do that's a little bit different at DC is we're going to have characters move into animation, out of animation, usually having the same actor play their voice as who plays them in live action.
Usually, so it seems like he is open to recasting certain people. I literally just noticed. I don't know if Joe's gonna mention that, but I just realized. I just noticed him saying that usually. So it seems like they're at the very least open to like recasting somebody. Maybe they'll have a different person play them in live action versus voice acting. If one is better suited for voice acting, while another one's better suited for live action. I don't know but I don't know if that is what he's gonna go for certain roles. But the fact he said usually means that that's at least on the table. I just noticed that. I didn't pick that up when I first watched this.
That is incredibly exciting. My first impression was, who the fuck are the Creature Commandos? And honestly, the Creature Commandos are kind of a side thing. The most I've seen on them, I haven't seen any of their comics. DC did a DC Nation's short films on it. They did a trailer and 2 episodes. Each of them were like a minute long, and this is what they looked like.
Is this an HBO Max? Like, where's this from? Or is this like on their YouTube channel?
No one said fetch, you dumb mutt.
No one say it fetch, you dumb mutt.
So it's incredibly silly. They are like a generic off-brand Suicide Squad. They're even more, D-listers than Suicide Squad. So I guess this is his sort of he's his Guardians. Maybe this could be his Guardians of the Galaxy kind of thing. He's already doing Suicide Squad. So I don't know if this plans to replace Suicide Squad. I don't think so because he loves those characters and he did a really good job on Suicide Squad. So I think Suicide Squad will probably continue, but it'll just be pushed to the side. Oh, the squad is busy. We've got to get the creature commandos to come in here and do it.
We gotta
So,
get the
as
C
you can
team
see,
or the D
they
team or the C
replaced
team.
the Medusa
whatever
character
the
with,
Suicide Squad
Lady
is compared to these
Frankenstein.
guys.
She's going to actually be the main character. So in the animation, it's this buff sergeant dude. He's not going to be the main character. It's going to be Lady Frankenstein, which could be interesting. And look there, you have Weasel. So you remember he survived in the
Weasel.
Suicide Squad. Well, he's now a part of this team. So I guess he
didn't
never
notice
fit
he
quite
was there.
too right, even with the Suicide Squad. And is going to be on this team. Now, what's going to be interesting
I didn't even know it
is
was
when
Weasel
they're
was in.
casting for this. This is, I think he said that this is like a 6 or 7, maybe 8 episode animated series. So this is an animation. And this is the first one that can tie into his DCU. All of the actors that he's going to cast for them are going to need to also be able to go into live action. Now, it's going to be crazy because it's like, okay, so we got an animated thing. Where does he fit live action characters into the DCU? Oh, especially these characters. I don't know. Whereas Avengers, it seems like, okay, yeah, you can have all these A-listers and B-listers be in a single film. These are Z-listers, and it's going to be interesting to see that clash between a Z-lister and an A-lister in the same film. But it's interesting. I have confidence in James's ability to make these off-brand teams work, right? These off-color teams.
Yeah, I mean,
these
that's he
teams
did with
that
Suicide
nobody
Squad and the
knows about,
Guardians.
and
Don't know why he
they're
wouldn't do
just
it here too.
funny stories. It's probably going to be in the exact same vein as a Suicide Squad. Maybe even sillier. So fine. This is interesting. This is the only animation I think that he announces, and it's not necessarily a heavy hitter, but I think story potential could be good. Now, I have some worries about all of these things, and that would be that some of these projects he's picked are very unknown, and I guess he has authority from DC executives to make these things that aren't necessarily going to make money. Because I don't think a lot of these properties are going to make a lot of money, but I could be wrong. We could be wrong. I mean, Peacemaker did, I think, well enough that it's getting this second season. To yes, he are various things, and that would be that some of these projects he's picked are very unknown, and I guess he has authority from DC executives to make these things that aren't necessarily going to make money. Because I don't think a lot of these properties are going to make a lot of money, but I could be wrong. We could be wrong. I mean, Peacemaker did, I think, well enough that it's getting this second season, but we did see that Suicide Squad, even with the high-profile actress of Margot Robbie, still underperformed at the box office. Black Adam underperformed at the box office, even though you had The Rock. And it may just be that the DC characters do not have the pull. And he's trying to, recreate the success of Guardians of the Galaxy. We'll see if it works here at with DC. So
See.
moving on.
All the episodes. Something we're going to do that's a little bit different at DC is we're going to have characters move into animation, out of animation, usually having the same actor play their voice as who plays them in live action.
See, that worries me because your Superman voice that you cast is also going to be the voice actor there. What if he's not a very good voice actor? What if you're like limiting their time schedules? Whoever you cast in the DCU, they literally cannot do any other projects for the rest of their life. Essentially,
Yeah.
it's going to be quite hectic.
Yeah,
The
bro, it's
next
gonna be
project
interesting how
is
they plan to
Waller.
do all
This is the
this.
story of Amanda Waller, played by Viola Davis. Viola Davis is going to team up with members of Team Peacemaker, and this is a story that's been created by Crystal Henry, who did Watchmen, and Jeremy Carver, who created the Doom Patrol. It is
So that okay, so Waller, did you hear those creatives that are behind this? Most people don't pay attention. They just look at the Waller character. I don't care. This is going to be boring. I don't want to watch it. But those creatives, people behind Doom Patrol, people, some of the best comic books, out there. I think Waller is going to be an interesting show and a successful show from a critical standpoint. Um, this is though confirmation that Viola Davis and James Gunn is cherry picking the people he wants to work with and bring over into the DCU. Fuck you, Henry Cavill. Fuck you, Gal Gadot and possibly Ben Affleck. I don't know. He may have had talks with them to come in the future, but in particular, fuck off Henry Cavill. And it's a fucking incredible shame, and I hate it, but this is confirmation. He's gonna keep his Suicide Squad. He's gonna keep his Peacemaker, and he's gonna keep obviously Viola Davis. It's a great choice because I think that she is a wonderful, wonderful Amanda Waller, and this is going to be interesting.
Yeah,
Now, whether this series, how are you going to make it interesting for DC fans? Is it mainly with cops? Is it mainly with threats? Is it with supervillains? How is it going to factor in? Are you going? Is this where we're going to see the live action Creature Commandos? Is this? Are we going to see some cameos from the Suicide Squad? I think a lot of people are going to expect that. So that's what we could potentially see from Waller.
Doom
I'll have to see
Patrol.
on that.
It is a fantastic story that's out of this world, and I can't wait for people to see it.
I don't know if he's teasing that there's some intergalactic threats. James Gunn, I think, is probably one of the better person to do intergalactic stuff, or if it's just out of this world, just being like a great thing. I don't know. But here we have come to the biggest part of it. So let's watch together.
Yep, Superman
Okay,
Legacy.
next up is the big one, the true beginning of the DCU. This is called Superman Legacy. This is being written by me. I'm in the middle of it. I'm having a great time doing it. And Superman will be released into theaters July 11th, 2025. Okay, the next thing is
Okay, so really quick there. So obviously, what I'm excited about is the way he kind of positions it as like, this is it. This is the DCU. I love the fact that Superman is going to start the DCU, right? Just like he started the DCEU, Superman front and center with the DCU. He may have lied to us because I think Blue Beetle is actually, maybe the start of it, and maybe Flash is another one, and then Aquaman, Elseworlds, Shazam, Elseworlds. That's the feeling I'm getting from how he quickly combed over that. But if he wants to put emphasis on Superman, I'm fucking here for it. But what he said about the project previously, I don't give a shit about. Nobody wants to see, and I think it's not going to be as successful as A Man of Steel 2 with the fans behind it, with Henry, with it being an older Superman. Like, think Alex Ross kind of artwork in Superman and doing all this stuff. But he's already said, fuck all that. I want an actor who I can basically monopolize. He can't do anything else. He has to only be Superman, and he has to be young so that I can use him over the next 10 to 20 years. He says that there's a plan for 10 years. It's probably 10 to 20, right? So I have to let go of that. You just have to move on. And Henry Cavill's time with the cape is hung up. Now, I do think that it would be nice to see him in an Elseworld story. I think it would be really cool if Henry could come back for, say, Kingdom Come is the project that I think would be perfect. An older Superman. Now, whether Henry wants to do it after he's been treated so poorly by DC and jerked around all this time, and now he's busy with motherfucking Warhammer 40K and all of his other projects, that remains to be seen. So, but I would like, hopefully, over time, if those wounds could heal, I would welcome Henry back in an Elseworlds project now that Peter, and I'm almost certain, obviously we can't know what happened behind the doors when Henry had his meeting with James, but I'm almost certain James brought up that possibility. And so I'm going to hold out a small amount of hope that after we see all this shit, that 10 years from now, when I'm an old man and you're older, that possibility is still there. So that is it. Now, let's look at what we can garner from this. He said previously that it's a Superman younger story. I just don't want it to be an origin story. I've said this over and over. He said that it's not an origin story, but if you're going and he's learning how to be, a reporter, and he's doing this, and he's learning how to be Superman, that is all but effectively an origin story. Now, what gives me hope is his use. What does he show us as Superman? He shows us all-star Superman. So this, to me, as a Superman fan, is a positive thing. Some people who aren't familiar with Superman or Superman's comics may not get this, but I think that is a incredibly good sign. I'm wondering if he's adapting All-Star Superman in Superman Legacy or gaining a lot of inspiration from it for his character, which is both simultaneously a good thing and then potentially a bad thing, because All-Star Superman is basically an end of Superman, right? The end of his story.
Right,
it brings
he has like cancer or something.
Of every kind of Superman story across multiple decades and distills it into its commonalities, and it is a very, very fucking good story. And
I saw the animated version.
That him showing this shows us that James Gunn is very comics oriented. He is a nerd. He is one of us. He does understand Superman, giving me small hope that he understands the character, because All-Star Superman, it's all about humanity and relatability. And that is encouraging for me. In that story, essentially, Superman, let me just real quickly talk about it. He has to grapple with his own mortality. Superman has sort of cancer from his cells cancer, so he's dying. There's three main kind of storylines. He interacts with Lois, he interacts with Lex Luthor, and he interacts with Jonathan Kent. And these three elements really factor into the 12 comic series. It's also the time that Lois got her powers for a day. Superman develops this serum that can make her superpowered, so they actually, go on a date where they're crime fighting and they kiss in that famous picture in the moon. It's a fantastic one. It's a good one. And then, Lex is on death row, and Clark is kind of interviewing him. And then finally, Jonathan Kent really factors in and shapes how Superman is so human and how Superman is relatable. And these are all good things. I'm curious how, if this does tease at anything, because it is an incredibly human story for a surprisingly human character in Superman, even though he's an alien. So I think that this shows that a small thing that he understands. So this could all be smoke. They just chose a random picture of Superman, and I'm reading way too much into it. But I think Morrison.
Yeah, he might be. He might just like, I like the cover for All-Star Superman. Fucking use it. He's not planning on adapting All-Star Superman.
As long as there's good in the world, that there is a Superman, because Superman's legacy endures. This is a story about Superman dying. He better not fucking have, Superman die in his first one. So I think that obviously
imagine if Jason just kills off Superman in the first movie. Now that would be something, and Joe's rant would be legendary, bro, if he kills him off. Yeah, bro, we're skipping right to the death of Superman. Fuck Doomsday. We don't need him. We'll have Cancer kill him this time, because Cancer's in.
That's that. Moving on from Superman. Now, obviously, you've had some incredible actors play Superman. the legendary Christopher Reeve, right?
You asked me, those movies are hella overrated.
Brand new.
I'm sorry, bro. Those movies ain't that. Movies ain't all that.
And then of course Henry Cavill. And so, do I think that somebody else's Superman could work? Of course I do. Because what's important to me is the character of Superman and what Superman represents, and in both him and us as a whole, you know, society has gotten very distrustful and dark, and Superman kind of represents the opposite: hope and light and what's good in people. And that's important, and I think it needs to be retained. And Superman is just a fucking badass character, and so I am trying
Yeah,
to come to
the
terms
reason
with
why actually I don't know
yes,
if I think I might mention this before, but the reason why I've since grown to love Superman, he's become one of my favorite heroes nowadays, is because of Joe. All the videos like his Man of Steel review and all the other times talking about Superman got me to like really see, really just got me to understand Superman more, and he quickly became one of my favorite heroes.
Starting fresh. Obviously, it could go one of two ways. It could be a disaster, or it can end up being wonderful. And so I have to hold out hope because all these things are happening regardless. And so I'm always going to back Superman, you know, unless it's fucking wild.
Why is he playing Crisis on Infinite Earths right there? I heard that. What's that gun? They just picked that footage at random.
James is going to do is retell stories of Superman that we have already seen 100 times and we're not interested in. So, and as long as he continues to address that and address some of our concerns there, then my hype for Superman Legacy is going to rise and rise and rise, or fall and fall and fall, depending on what comes of that. So, let's continue.
Into theaters July 11th, 2025. Okay, the next thing is a big premiere HBO television series called Lanterns. This is
yes, Lanterns. This is the one I'm really hyped for. Besides Superman and Brave and the Bold.
Lanterns peppered in there, but this is really a terrestrial-based TV show, which is almost like True Detective, with a couple of Green Lanterns who are space cops watching over Precinct Earth.
Okay, this is incredibly exciting.
Yeah.
Because I thought that there was going to be, I think, an animated series on DCE. I think maybe that's still happening. He doesn't reference it here. Maybe it's been canceled totally. We need clarification here. But when you say fucking HBO TV series, live action, True Detective, Space Cops, Hal Jordan, and Jon Stewart, I've always wanted to see a Jon Stewart. I thought that Hal Jordan is kind of fucking boring. You know, motherfucking Ryan Reynolds was just a disaster.
Am I the only person that actually likes that movie?
We have to see a fucking amazing Jon Stewart because he's such a fucking badass character. And now that we're going to see them both in a kind of true fucking crime style thing, a true detective style thing, that is incredibly exciting.
Yeah, bro. I'm just glad that we're getting fucking Lanterns, bro. Like, DC has been fucking cock teasing us and like jerking us around with the Lanterns. Like you mentioned, there was like an animated series coming in there. They've thrown in the occasional teases and cameos of Lanterns and other DC. Like you guys remember in Justice League when they were showing that initial like battle with Steppenwolf or Doomsday and the Snyder Cut. We saw a Lantern was in there, man. I love the Lanterns, man. I always thought the Green Lanterns were cool, like for a while. I mentioned this in my the Green Lanterns were like my second favorite DC characters besides Batman. Those were like my top two was Batman and Green Lantern. So and then of course he was Green Lantern. Hal Jordan, Jon Stewart was supposed to be in the Snyder Cut. They filmed it and everything, but DC told him no, you can't use them because we're doing our own thing, and he switched them out with the Martian Manhunter. So yeah, I'm glad that they were finally getting something with Lanterns, man. It's gonna be awesome. I'm looking forward to this one.
Feel more Earth-based, but I wonder, can this still be galactic? Because James Gunn is very good with galactic. It has to be galactic because of where the Green Lanterns get their powers from and what they're supposed to be. They're supposed to be.
Man, I love the Lanterns. Hopefully we get more. How we get Lanterns?
And he's already kind of done that before in the Marvel Universe, so this is incredibly exciting. And for Green Lantern fans, this is basically like the fucking Holy Grail was just announced. If I was a Superman fan and I got my way, this is their Man of Steel 2 with Henry Cavill. This is incredible. And I'm very, very excited. Not only does he mention Hal Jordan and Jon Stewart, but he throws in mention for other Green Lanterns, which Guy Gardner, I gotta see Guy Gardner. I can see that.
Is he that big orange alien dude? Is that who Guy Gardner, the alien guy? I don't remember. It's been years since I've seen anything relating to lanterns, so my memory's a bit hazy. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments.
Wonderful interplay between Guy Gardner and Jon Stewart and Hal Jordan and all these could be really, really cool. There's Kyle Rayner, Alan Scott, very interesting and unique and different. Then we've had more recent ones like Jessica Cruz or Simon Baz. So who knows? But this is very, very exciting. And so I'm going to call this one a massive, massive hit, and my excitement level is through the roof. Moving on.
In it, they discover a terrifying mystery that ties into our larger story of the DCU. Next.
So, he's teasing. He's teasing that Thanos. He's teasing so there's a greater threat to everybody. Everybody, and the Green Lanterns are gonna know about it. Well, I don't think the Green Lanterns are gonna fucking figure out something on Earth that threatens things. I think that it's gonna be a galactic threat. I am so excited with the potential of the galactic.
I do wonder what they're gonna do for the Thanos thing. Are they gonna just go back with Snyder and do Darkseid, or are they gonna stick with Steppenwolf, or they can maybe do it with Doomsday instead? Okay, wait, no, not Doomsday. Far too early. I think James learned from BVS to not kill Superman off in your second movie, so we're probably not gonna do Doomsday. And even then, it'll probably be a Superman thing rather than the big Galactus type thing. It might be because I don't really know any other big bads other than Doomsday and Darkseid. Those are the only big bads of DC, at least that I know of. I'm more of a Marvel guy myself than DC.
Galactic in DC. It's an element of DC that's always been missing. We've gotten plenty of Earth-based stories. We've got plenty of grounded reality. I think it's time to take these heroes and really blow them up. And if you look at all of the fucking hints, gods and monsters, the title of Chapter 1, I think, and the Green Lantern discovers this threat that ties into the DCU. I think this thing is going to be huge.
Is it going to be Darkseid?
A big movie called Mystery.
He gets so excited for
our
this next
larger
one.
story of the DCU. Next is a big movie called The Authority. The Authority is a passion project of mine. It's based on the marvelous Wildstorm characters we are now bringing into the DCU and will interact with all of our primary DCU characters. The Authority are a group of superheroes who think the world is broken and they want to fix it by any means necessary. I think it's a very different look at superheroes.
This dude looks like a knockoff Batman back there.
Okay, so The Authority is one that I have.
Yeah, this guy looks like a knockoff Batman.
I don't know any of these characters, so that is definitely
Knockoff Superman.
thing to do. You're gonna take some characters that nobody knows about, and you're gonna try to do them the best. We saw what happened in Marvel with the Eternals. That's mixed reception. I liked it, so
It was a pretty good movie, but definitely the
James
weakest
Gunn
movie of
does
Phase
this sort of
4.
right, this has the potential to be kind of a dark horse and to be an interesting look at it. I think, though, because it's a film, I think that it's not going to do well. I don't think that, you have all of these films, and James, Suicide Squad underperformed, Black Adam underperformed, even with, superstars there. By the time Authority comes out, will we have superhero, will people be tired of superheroes by then? And
I won't be.
I don't know. He says that this is going to tie into the main A-listers. This is one of my worries that, when you were joking about James Gunn, you think he's going to focus on fucking Plastic Man. He's going to focus on some of these D-listers, and here you have it. But it's going to have to be a delicate balance between, the main guys, the A-listers, and the Z-listers, right? So I'm up for it. I'm not necessarily excited about it, and this is the project that I think has the potential to underperform at the box office, but thankfully it would be the easiest to just forget about. Yeah, there'd be a few more cameos after their film and other things, but they don't factor in a big way unless it does successful. Because remember, this shit is a business. Ultimately, this shit is a business. all of what he talks about today is passionate, creative side, and
What the
story-based.
fuck is Joe holding in his hand? He's been holding it throughout this entire video. What is that
He has
thing?
realized that he's not in charge. Money is in charge, and the fucking suits are in charge. Yeah, he's in charge of the direction the stories are going, what stories are being told, what comes out. But if all of these underperform, James could be fucking gone. So, anyways, moving on to the next one.
I think it's a very different look at superheroes. We're doing a television series called Paradise Lost. Paradise Lost is the story of Paradise Island, usually known as Themyscira, which is the birthplace of Wonder Woman. It's almost like Game of Thrones with Westeros, but with all of the inhabitants of Paradise Island.
Incredible. Incredibly exciting.
Is that a lighter he's holding? What is that thing?
Hardcore Amazonian motherfucking fighters fucking Spartacus this shit up, James. Like, I want fucking swords through fucking necks. He even shows that. There's a picture here. Like, this is incredible, and I think this has huge, huge potential. I think it's also confirmation that Gal Gadot is out as Wonder Woman. I think that obviously if you're going to go this direction, you're going to show the island. It's going to be a younger Wonder Woman, just like he's doing a younger Superman. And she is going to get her debut in a TV live action series and then move on to, films. And that is incredibly exciting. And you're going to have very, very strong female characters, very strong supporting characters that can also show up in future Wonder Woman films. I am so sick and tired of motherfucking Trevor. I don't want Trevor to factor in. I don't even want Trevor to show up anymore.
Fuck Trevor!
Because Trevor is such an important part to Wonder Woman's character, or a legacy character. I've just had Trevor overload in the DCEU, and I think by going in,
You know what would be nice? If in the DCU with James Gunn, he pairs Superman up with Wonder Woman, like in the DC, like in the New 52, and the DCAU. That would be nice. If they, because I know Lois I know people love Lois and Clark, but I've always been more partial to Superman and Wonder Woman. That's just me personally. And I would like to see Damian and Raven get together the DCU as well, if that was a thing whenever they introduced the Teen Titans. So that would be nice, but we'll wait and see on that. But probably not. They'll probably throw her with Beast Boy because, the comics. But it'd be nice, James Gunn, if you put Damian with Raven. I will be eternally grateful for you. I will forgive you for Henry Cavill if you give me Damian Ray canon live action, bro.
this direction.
I was like, I love David Raven's relationship in Apocalypse War, just the DCAU in general.
Sure. You mentioned fucking Westeros. You mentioned Game of Thrones.
The fuck is Westeros? I've never heard of that.
There better be fucking blood. There better be fucking sex. There better be fucking...
I mean, no, it's a whole island full of women. A whole island full. I wouldn't be. I would not. I would not be opposed to some lesbian sex scenes, but. I would not be opposed to that, but I'm not going to expect it. But hey, if they throw it in there, man, cool. I'll make sure my door is locked so my mom doesn't catch me doesn't run while during the middle of a sex scene.
Maturity in this series, and it better be fucking warriors and shit. It's gonna be fucking awesome. So we'll see how it. I mean, I don't really care about sex. You don't even have fucking sex.
Yeah, I wouldn't be opposed to it, but I'm not gonna expect it. Or, man, I want lesbian sex scenes in Paradise Lost. Lesbian sex scenes, or we riot. You don't gotta go full Game of Thrones with it, bro.
I'm saying is it needs to be adult and mature.
Yeah, Joe, I'm right with you on that one. I'm down with you with the gore, bro. Give me my gore.
Danger. There has to be raw savagery, and that fits perfectly with the image that he shows here. And I think that this is incredibly exciting. I would rank this as, let me rank where all these projects go in my excitement level later. But this is a huge, huge hit for me.
Silent. The introduction of the DCU's Batman is the brave and the bold. The brave and the bold.
Whoa, what?
Bold is the story of Batman and his actual son, Damian Wayne. It's based on Grant.
Oh, I'm so excited for this. Damian is getting it. We're seeing Damian live action.
He's a little assassin who Batman tries to get in line, and so
yeah, Damian, my goat.
And the beginning of sort of the Bat family in the DCU.
Holy shit, that is a huge drop. Huge. Pat, Patterson is no longer Batman. That's Elseworlds, is what he said. That version of Batman is not his Batman. Okay, we kind of already knew that, but he wants his own Batman. I was hoping maybe he can integrate him somewhere, right? Because he's getting all these younger people. I thought he was just going to pull in the younger Batman. It makes sense, but no, Matt Reeves has control of Robert Pattinson, and that's it. He's going to find a brand new Batman. This is exciting. There's so many people have played Batman, and so many have got it right, and so many have gotten it wrong. I've always wanted to see Damian, so I am incredibly excited for Damian on screen. I'm excited for Bat Dad, right? This could be really, really good.
Yeah, and hopefully this means, because he did mention they do plan on having maybe introduce other members of the Bat family into this movie, considering this is going to be an older Batman. I would really hope and pray that by this point, Jason's already a thing. Maybe not, he hasn't gone full Red Hood, but he's already dead by this point, and he hasn't gotten resurrected by the Lazarus Pit. Dick has already become Nightwing. Tim Drake is vibing somewhere else, or not even, or maybe doesn't even play a factor at this point. But yeah, hopefully I would love to see Jason. I want Red Hood. He's like my second favorite member of the Bat family, behind obviously Batman and Damian.
Morrison again, he shows All-Star Superman. Now he's showing Brave and Bold. These are good writers to adapt things from, and it bodes really well for the universe, guys. This is huge, though. We're gonna have two fucking Batmans. Makes sense because Batman is so motherfucking popular, and fucking the WB executives are like, yes, more Batman, more, right?
More!
You can have two successful Batmans, it'll be crazy. But it is going to be slightly awkward because you're going to have the continuance of the Matt Reeves Batman while simultaneously having this other Batman. Is this Batman going to be the Batman that feels generic, that feels not the true Batman, and it's actually Matt Reeves' Batman, Robert's Batman that is the true Batman? That is wild to me. And then maybe we won't feel like mainline Batman until we start to get a culmination of these new DCU stories into a Justice League. So, but the fact that I even said the word Justice League in DCU is insane because it's probably not going to happen until 2030, 2028. 2029 is when I think James has plans. I think Justice League is at the very end, and it should be at the very end of all of this. This is how it should be done. Individual projects that are exciting, that care about the motherfucking characters, and that are...
Seriously, what is that? Wait, is that a flash drive? I think that's actually just a flash drive he has in his hand.
This is another incredibly exciting project.
Yeah, this was the one I most anticipated for Brave and the Bold, just for Damian.
And the beginning of sort of the Bat family in the DC.
And then he says Bat family, so I'm sure we're going to see Batgirl. I'm sure we're going to see some of these side characters. We could even get fucking Batwing and wild stuff. Obviously, Nightwing is going to factor in. Some
Jason.
Red Hood. This could be amazing. This could be fucking great for the Bat universe.
Next up is a TV series called Booster Gold. Booster Gold is one of comics' really popular cult heroes.
Yeah.
He is a fascinating guy. He's a loser from the future who uses future technology to come back to present day and become a superhero so that people will love him.
Classic James Gunn. And James, if I was to pick somebody to put in charge of Booster Gold, it'd be motherfucking James Gunn. If he casts the right Booster Gold, then you're fucking perfect. Now, I don't want them to change anything from, the comics. I don't want them to turn Booster Gold into a fucking, 4 foot tall, woman with no, leave Booster Gold exactly how he is supposed to be. And because he's white and blonde, I'm pretty sure they're going to make fun of that and do all that stuff as well. So,
imagine they do just like, oh yeah, Booster Gold, he's now a woman. Yeah, oh, and she's also a lesbian as well. Oh, and she has autism. There's how many checks can we put on this character? We can't have a white guy with blonde hair. That's a no now. Imagine they did do all that. And she would also have to be black as well, of course. You have to make sure she's black.
I'm pretty sure he's going to remain unchanged. You just have to nail the casting in Booster Gold. I just don't want it to be completely changed, and that's the case for the next project as well. I'm a little worried about this, but I think that this is fucking fantastic, and it's a TV show. It's basically the next Peacemaker. I think it's gonna be fantastic, and if he nails the comedy and the comedy is correct in it, then it's gonna work really, really awesome, and I'm excited for Booster Gold. So the next one, though, is where I have worry, because there's a Supergirl in The Flash.
Yeah, that's going to be what's going on with the Supergirl thing.
Played by Sasha Calle. I'm curious if Sasha Calle is going to be cast in this next project.
It is basically the superhero story of imposter syndrome on an HBO Max series.
Imposter syndrome.
One of my favorite comic book series from last year was Tom King's run on Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow. And so we're going to turn that into a big science fiction epic film. Now, Superman is a guy who was sent to Earth and raised by loving parents, whereas Supergirl in this story, she is a character who was raised on a chunk of Krypton. She watched everybody around her perish in some terrible way, so she's a much more jaded character. And that brings me to Swamp Thing.
Okay. So, this is incredibly exciting. Look, I'm a huge Superman fan, but I'm also a huge Supergirl fan, and I love Supergirl. Her film was fucking terrible. It's one of the worst superhero movies of all time.
Wait, Supergirl has a movie?
Exist. Don't go out and search it. It's just awful.
I'm doing it right now.
The actress, it wasn't her fault. It's just, the dialogue was so bad. The story was so bad. And now James is actually going to give us a Supergirl film. Now, I worry
It's from the 80s.
Is it going to be Sasha Calle? And
this.
It's a little unfair if you're throwing out Henry and you're keeping Sasha Calle. That is just a slap in the face to me. It doesn't seem right because maybe her suit is going to look like Henry Cavill, so I'm going to constantly be reminded of that, or he's going to throw all that shit out and create this with a new actress. It's like, oh, this side actress who's playing a cameo in a alternate universe version of Superman, she gets to continue to go on, and Henry, fuck you. That just feels shitty to me. So hopefully,
Henry, fuck you.
This one is recast with somebody that prepared for the role, and maybe Sasha is prepared for the role. Maybe she does nail it out of the park, and if she earns that, if she earns Supergirl, then fine. But if it just makes no sense to me that if James is like, well, I'm getting rid of all of these people and I want to go with younger, well, Sasha is kind of young. So I'm curious, is it going to be Sasha? Is it going to be Melissa? Is it going to be a brand new, cast? That could be an opportunity to bring Melissa in, if he wants to, tie the...
Oh, yeah, right, the CW.
Supergirl has ended, who knows? But the fact, a more exciting thing here, actually, is that he is willing to directly adapt the comic book. He's like, I read this comic. I fucking want it done perfect. I'm going to go out, run out, and buy Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow, and see it. Because if he does say sci-fi epic, so this may be exactly what I'm looking for. She's on a beach of an alien planet. Holy shit. What an amazing fucking problem to have if the Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow film is a motherfucking 9 out of 10, a 10 out of 10. Could you imagine such new people who are introduced to the super family and the Superman, and they're big fans of Superman, like all the women out there that's going to get into fucking comics and get into Superman?
Oh no, bro, you might not want them to join us. You know how Twitter beats sometimes, bro. I understand your excitement, and if they cool fantastic, bud, you might get a lot of weirdos. They'll be like, oh my god, this is how you got your other race, the 60s, everything, this, that, and the third. I'm just saying, I get Joe's excitement, and I'm all for, yeah, you want to come in there, come and join us. Just don't be a weirdo about it, okay? Don't be coming out here trying to stop, coming in here trying to make problems, man. Like, you know what I mean? But, yeah.
right? That'd be a good fucking problem to have because expanding the comics, expanding the fan base for DC characters is always good to me. And it would feel bad though if her film is way better than Superman's. But hey, man, I'm all for it, and it could be really, really fucking cool. And I'd love to see just more fucking people dressing up in costumes. I've got several Superman costumes, so I just want a bunch of other like-minded people to do the same thing. So the fact that we're getting a Supergirl fucking movie is motherfucking amazing, and I'm for it. Thank you, James, for also considering strong female characters in the DC universe and not having it be all about the dudes. Long, long ago, it was actually WB themselves that laughed at the idea of a female-led superhero, and then it couldn't work. Before they were doing Wonder Woman, and then finally, over time, they've seen that it can work with Wonder Woman. So
But we also seen it fall flat on his face and be the most obnoxious shit ever. Captain Marvel and Batwoman.
I'm gonna go out and support Supergirl, One Woman of
But
Tomorrow.
we'll have to. Hopefully, this one will be good. Hopefully, this one will be good.
And incredibly excited about it. So, man, I have to say that James is fucking nailing each one of these. Wow. And we've got one more.
Perish in some terrible way. So she's a much more jaded character. And that brings me.
And that's good. I like a jaded Supergirl. I like the fact that she is different from her, cousin. Superman is a fucking hope and just a paragon, and she has a lot more internal conflict, and then earning that character arc is going to be amazing. And maybe they can even fucking pull her to the dark side like they have before.
What was this one? What was this one called? That was like Batman, Superman, Apocalypse or something.
Be interesting, and that would be.
She's kind of bad in this. You know what I'm saying? No, I like her up in that movie. That was a really good movie too.
Be incredible to see that on the big screen, like a fucking evil Supergirl, being manipulated by that and going up against Superman. It's just incredible potential. Gods and monsters.
Me to Swamp Thing, the last thing we're going to talk about, a very dark horror story in the origins of the monster who is Swamp Thing. And although it's totally outside of the rest of the DCU, it will still feed into the rest of the stories. Anyway, those are the stories that I can tell you about right.
So that's fucking awesome. I loved Swamp Thing, the short-lived Swamp Thing on HBO. I thought it was incredible.
DC Universe, actually, that was before they got merged.
And the character has so much potential. He does say it's going to be darker. It's tonally different. I wanted to go horror. I wanted to go get to the core of the Swamp Thing character, and it's really awesome. This is, it sucks to see one series you really like canceled, and James Gunn is motherfucking bringing it back, so he earns even more brownie points from me. These are great announcements. Let's listen to the rest of it.
Anyway, those are the stories that I can tell you about right now. I've loved the DC characters since I was a child. They're incredibly important to me. I knew that this was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to do
But it seems like he has some weird beef with Henry for some reason.
in all of these movies and TV series is that the director's vision and the vision of the writers and all of the creators is unique and something special. Storytelling is always king. That's all that matters to us. And I want to be true to those stories. I want to be true to you guys and really give you something different than you've ever seen before. Anyway, thank you, everybody. I appreciate you watching. I hope this was exciting for you because it's really exciting for me. And I can't wait to start to dive into these stories with you guys on this grand adventure. Thank you so much.
Every single project that he announced there is, freaking exciting. So I'm going to go through and rank the ones that I have at the top. So let's go. My least excited one. My least excited one is Waller. I've already seen Viola Davis. I'm curious how they're going to make me interested in her story. Are we going to get, the creation of, creature commandos? Are we going to get more Suicide Squad stuff? It's very weird that he centers on Waller. I think Waller is going to be a huge, huge connective part of the DC universe, sort of like Nick Fury. But is it the most exciting for me? No, it's not the most exciting for me. I think even Creature Commandos is above Waller for me. I want to see this next evolution of the DC animated universe. I have high hopes that the DC animated universe can continue to be amazing. I don't want James Gunn to come in and basically fuck up the only good working part of DC right now in media. So that has the potential, if he's of these crazy cast of monster characters, to be visually interesting and quite offbeat and something different. Next is The Authority, and that is basically because I know nothing on The Authority. We're going to have our generic off-brand Superman power. We're going to have our off-brand speedster. We're going to have our off-brand, fighter, and I don't know. It's not that exciting for me, but who knows? I think I want to go and pick up a comic just to see, and my opinions can completely change. But that gives him the creative freedom to approach the universe in any way he wants. I think he said that the guys were broken and things like that. So could be an interesting way to peer into that. Next, I'd say is Swamp Thing. If it's done in the way that I'm hoping it is, you're bringing back horror in a big way. That could be incredibly interesting. Next is Supergirl. This could go either way. It could be fucking amazing. It could be better than the Superman stuff, and I'll be so jealous, but yet happy at the same time because we get a bunch of the female audience interested in comics, interested in Superman. All about that.
Like I said, bro, I know you want that audience more interested in comics, bro. I'm just saying.
Growing our fandom.
I'm all for like my people coming in. You want to read comics? Cool. Just don't be a weirdo about it, man. Calling us everything in the book. You know what I'm saying?
It could be kind of shitty and it could fail. I don't think it could ever fail as spectacularly as the original Supergirl movie. So I think we're okay there. The rest of these, and the only reason why this isn't higher is because the potential. I actually, if they go hardcore into the sci-fi, if it truly is on another planet, and I'm gonna buy that comic. If it's on another planet and he brings in the galactic element through Supergirl, then this could be motherfucking number 3 on my list instead of number 6. But above that right now is the idea and potential of Paradise Lost, a motherfucking Westeros Game of Thrones story on Themyscira with the Amazonians fighting. I'm not sure if it works quite as well as Game of Thrones because there's not that many factions, that have this intrigue and interplay and betrayal. That's not really what the Amazonians are all about. The Amazonians are incredibly loyal to each other, and really they're only fighting. I think there was a tribe of men on their island and some threats and god threats. Now, where it could get exciting is if you start bringing in some of the fucking gods, like the Greek gods and the fucking god of war and the god of this, and then have them at conflict with their own gods could be really, really interesting. And then monsters, mythical creatures, and then this requires a lot of CGI, it requires a lot of budget. But if they're willing to put in the money, then I think it does have that kind of potential, and that's why I put it higher. Booster Gold, this is just my comedy series. I fucking love comedies. I fucking love Peacemaker. If he can duplicate the Peacemaker and give it for Booster Gold, this just goofy fucking guy that's just trying to get people to love him, and it's just, I've always loved his comics. I always loved his cameos in comics. He's like a Deadpool. He's the Deadpool of the fucking DC universe. Not really like that. He's his own character, but I'm just trying to get you to realize why do people like Booster Gold. So he's silly and he's fun. So I'm with Booster Gold. Number 3 is gonna be The Brave and the Bold, and that's the reason why it's not higher because I love Batman. Batman's my 3rd favorite superhero of all time. Is I have to know the casting. I have to know who you're gonna cast as Batman. I have to know who you're gonna cast as Damian Wayne. You get those right. You get the story right. You're adapting Morrison's stuff. The Brave and the Bold. This is incredibly exciting. It shows that we are on our path to a new Justice League through individual movies, and I am here for it. The number 2, Lanterns. This is a long,
so number 1 Superman then?
Franchise is a long.
If I'm right,
Reynolds and that team fucked it up. It's not Ryan's fault. It's just a shitty fucking space monster, just like garbage fucking cloud monster, just shitty Green Lantern adaptation by
I like
telling
that
me about
movie.
crime or True Detective. That gets me incredibly
But this I'm
excited. We're
excited
going
for.
dark, we're going gritty, we're going galactic, we're going space cops, they're the ones that figure out that a threat is incoming to the entire DCU, and that could be, our Avengers film, and it could be going into that. And the fact that it's a TV series, so you get plenty of time with Hal Jordan, plenty of time with Jon Stewart, Guy Gardner, these lanterns. Throw in some female lanterns in there for that audience segment, and it is going to be fucking. It has the potential to be amazing. I hope they give it a big budget. It has to have the budget of a Game of Thrones at the very least. It has to have at least the budget of Paradise Lost. You cannot cheapen out on that. That has to be on HBO. And so same thing with Paradise Lost. I expect these to be HBOs and not CWs. You can't CW it. You have to HBO it. And then
Yep.
finally, my most excited and anticipated, it really shouldn't be. In fact, I think it's just because I'm biased with Superman, right? I should
Yeah.
put Superman at the top because this one I think I have the potential to be amazingly excited for it, but because I know nothing about it, I'm building it in my head, and I'm excited for my vision of Superman and with the image of All-Star Superman and him giving, but it could be that Daily Planet learning the ropes, boring origin story without being an origin story that we all got. And in that case, I'm more excited for motherfucking, where would I put this? I'd put Swamp Thing above it. So it'd be right below Swamp Thing and number 8. But if it is this version, and I'm so biased for Superman, the character of Superman, then I'll put that at 1. But I don't. In fact, no, I'm dropping it down to 8. I'm so fucking worried about that and the stuff that happened with Henry and the potential that this universe can have. So, in summary, this has been a long-ass video, but I wanted to just give my fucking thoughts and talk about every single project. That's why it's so long. But I think that James Gunn's universe has incredible potential. He's rebooting everything. They're throwing out incredible opportunities in order to get it. And it's a fucking shame, and I can still be mad over those things. I can still be mad at him, and I can still criticize it for those things. But this goes a long way towards making me excited for the new DCU. And frankly, it was a mess. The old DCEU was a mess. A few things were working in it,
Yeah.
but more so were not working in it. And so I was hoping that James would come in and steer it in the right direction with the elements already there, but I cannot fault him for wanting to say, I can't. I want young, fresh, new stories. We're going to go more comics. What has me most excited is James going more comics and less, let's Hollywoodize it. Let's do our own thing. Let's hire random people to take care of these comic storylines and then just make up their own storylines using tiny little bits from comics and inspirations from it, but doing their own things. And these people aren't familiar with the characters, don't give fucking shit, and don't understand. It seems like he's going with this side of it, the comic side, where they understand and we're adapting directly from the comics. And that's where Marvel works so well. So I'm actually hyping myself up. I'm getting very excited. I think this does have the potential to compete with Marvel. In fact, from this announcement and from these projects, I'm actually more excited now about motherfucking DC than I am about Marvel.
Yeah, I think I've got it with Angry Joe on
So
that one
that's
too,
huge.
low
And
key.
these are just talk. This is just talk. We need to now see directors. We need to see writers. We need to see trailers. We need to see stories. But I think it is an exciting time to be a DC fan. We're going to carry around hurt with us for a long time, mourning the characters that we loved and are losing.
Yep.
But there is excitement and potential to fall in love with brand new characters. All right, guys. Thank you all so much. Hopefully you enjoyed this long-ass vlog video and spending time with me.
Long-ass video.
Now, I must know your thoughts. Are you mad at me for being excited?
Are you mad at me? Betrayal!
Some of those individual projects and rank them like I just did. Okay, guys? Thank you so much, and I will see you on the next Angry Joe Show. Bye, guys.
Alright. Whew! Finally reached the end, man. Alright, but yeah, Angry Joe brings up a lot of good points, man, and yeah. Like I mentioned before in my original video, I'm hyped for a lot of these projects, man, especially Brave and The Bold. We'll have to wait and see how a lot of this turns out, but yeah, I'm hyped. Good to see Angry Joe seems to be interested. Obviously, he's still kind of hurt because of Henry, which we all are, man. We all wish Henry could stay. I wish Batfleck could also stay as well, but oh well. Anyway, guys, yeah, I've said my piece in 2 videos, man, but yeah. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Like if you did, subscribe if you're new. Follow me on my socials if you feel like it. Links down in the description box below. And as always, come back for more. See you guys next time.